Imagine somebody offered you 15 healthy years of retirement. Years where you can travel, still walk for miles, still get out and explore, still do the things you've spent your entire working life looking forward to. And now imagine giving away 7 of those years. Not because you had to, but because you chose to. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Yet that's exactly what many people do. See, the government says the state pension age is 67. And somewhere along the way, many people have started treating that as the age that they should retire. But what if you don't need to wait? What if you've got a workplace pension or a private pension, savings or investments that would allow you to retire earlier? Why would you give away 7 of your healthiest years? And that's what I want to talk about today. So good afternoon. Hope everyone's having a great day. I'm Dave, and this is the Over 65 Reset. So let's start with something that sounds obvious, but I don't think enough people actually think about it. The state pension is not your retirement age. It's simply the age at which the government starts paying your state pension, leastways in the UK. And that's it. It's not an instruction, it's not a target, it's not a law that says you must keep working until then. Yeah, I hear people say it all the time, and I was one of them. I'm retiring at 67. But now my question is why? If you've done the calculations and you genuinely need to work until 67, well, that's fair enough. But have you actually worked it out? Or have you simply accepted that number because it's the number that everybody talks about? There's a huge difference between choosing to work until 67 and assuming that you have to. One's a conscious decision. The other, well, that's just a habit. See, most retirement conversations, they focus on money. How much have you got? How much will you need? Will you run out? And I guess they're all sensible questions. But very few people talk about the healthy years. And nobody knows exactly what lies ahead, of course not. Some people remain incredibly active into their 80s. And others, well, they're just less fortunate. But let's say, just for argument's sake, that from around the age of 60, you've got 10 to 15 years where you're still relatively healthy. You're active and capable of doing most of the things that you want to do. Traveling, walking, exploring, taking up new hobbies, spending time with a family, living life on your terms. If that window is 15 years and you work till you're 67, you're potentially given away nearly half of it because retirement hadn't even began. 7 years. That's 7 years you'll never get back. 7 years where you could have been doing the things that you've spent your whole working life saying you'll do one day. That's the retirement maths that got me thinking. Not life expectancy, healthy expectancy. And there's a very big difference. I think part of the reason that people don't question this is because of the generation before us. My parents didn't have the options that many of us have today. And for many people back then, retirement meant reaching state pension age. So that was the only form of income after that. Private pensions weren't nearly as common. Workplace pensions, they certainly weren't what they are today. But things, as I say, are very different today. Millions of people have workplace pensions, employers' contributions. People build pension pots over many years. Many people have savings as well. Yet, despite all that, we still seem to cling to the idea that state pension age is somehow the finish line. And for some people, it still absolutely is. But for many others, it may not be. And the question is whether they've ever stopped to ask themselves, I was originally planning to retire on the 14th of January 2027, which was my state pension age. That was the plan. Not because I desperately wanted to stay, not because I loved every day at work. It was just the day that I'd picked. And one day a colleague said to me, he looked at me and he said, "You're really not enjoying it anymore, are you? Why are you staying?" And it was such a simple question, but it hit me like a hammer. Because the truth was, I didn't have a good answer. I wasn't staying because I loved the job. I wasn't staying because I desperately needed the money. I was staying because I'd got used to the idea of staying. And I went back to my office at that point, and I sat there thinking about what he'd said. Then I rang Julie, my wife. We talked it through. And within an hour, I'd written my retirement letter and handed it in. Not because I'd made a sudden decision. I think the decision had probably been forming in my mind for months, maybe years. That conversation simply forced me to confront the question I'd been avoiding. If I can retire and I'm no longer enjoying my job, why am I still here? Made no sense. Now here's the strange thing. As retirement gets closer, I've realised something. My biggest regret isn't that I'm retiring. My biggest regret is that I didn't do it sooner. Not 10 years sooner, not even 5 years sooner, just sooner. I've met people who genuinely love what they do. And if that's you, carry on. You've found something special, great. But I've also met people with substantial workplace pensions who could retire tomorrow and live very, very comfortably. Yet they stay. And I respect that. But I do sometimes wonder why. Because every year they stay, it's another year they've given away. Another year of health. Another year of freedom. Another year they'll never get back. For me, those years have become more valuable than the additional money. I'd rather spend them with Julie and my grandchildren and my children. I'd rather spend them walking the dogs. I'd rather spend them growing my dog photography business. I'd rather spend them building this channel. I'd rather spend them travelling and making memories while I'm still fit enough to enjoy them. And once you realise that, everything seems to look a bit different. So let me ask you a question. If money wasn't part of the equation, What age would you retire? Not when the government says you can, not when society expects you to. What age would you choose? Let me know in the comments below, because I'd genuinely be interested to hear your answer. And if you're trying to make the most of the years ahead, consider subscribing. And whatever you do next, don't slow down.